Thank you everyone for being here. So just to remind, my name is Billy. I'm working at AIAIO. I'm going to share a bit what we do at AIAIO. We basically do mobile apps for clients, but we are fast at development because of what I'm going to present. We did something and we just redo it again and again, architecture. Like we have a good structure and just spread it to any apps we do. So the first motivation for this talk was so basically this talk was at the beginning, I wanted to present how to start a project using Flutter, but it just came out to just architecture and project structure. And also I saw the students developing, so I saw them code, I saw how they did it, how they split the code and stuff, so I was like, okay, maybe it's a good occasion to present something about it. So yeah, a bit of introduction about architecture. Architecture and folder structure, some packages and tools you can use to help this topic, and a demo. So a quick introduction. So if you talk about architecture, usually, oh, it's missing one. Oh no. Hey, it's missing one. Wait, what's happening? Ah, no. Okay, my bad. No, I'm missing one myself. It's okay. So, just a few words before we start the topic. So everything, yeah, so architecture is not really something static. So you will have architecture based on the purpose. You can apply it to anything. So I'm going to do a presentation about Flutter, but actually I made here at Davidson a project, a backend project using Nest.js, using the same architecture as I'm using today in Flutter, which is front and Nest.js backend framework. And also, the name and terms might be different than what you use and know. And it's kind of my version, my company version of architecture, and also like how we approach some issues or problems. So architecture is, you usually set an architecture to make it stable. You have to make sure that if you follow everything, every rules and principles, it will actually be like you might not have issues with, I don't know, features or business logics, and you will know how to maintain it if you have issues. Like, oh, you have a business logic issue, so I know where is it. I have issues with UI. I don't know, like it doesn't work on phone, it works on web, so you know exactly which widget it's come from. The architecture should be flexible to add any features, but also removing. So if you remove something, you don't have to look for every files and you have to remove this, and check all the folders to see where there's impacts. Testable, so they might be isolate enough to test only this part, and this part, the business logic, or only the UI. And also homogeneous is more about contribution. So if you have colleagues, a new person in projects, they come and it's easy to maintain. We all write the same code. I will show some few things, some helpers about this. So architectures, and so we're going to talk about architecture, but architecture in the application way, not projects like servers, clouds and stuff, and how to structure it. So if you talk about architecture, basically it's about design patterns. So you have a lot of design patterns with different goals, different purpose. So basically they just try to solve something that you implements again and again, and maybe there's a way to maybe split things or fix some occurring problems in software design. So if you want to know about know more about design patterns, you have this website, Refactoring Guru. They actually explain everything, different design patterns that exist. So just a few rules and principles about the architecture I'm presenting is more, so we split things in domains. So for example, if you have an app like a shopping app, you might divide everything by, for example, one cart, products, settings, profile, user profiles. So we have to, if something, okay, for example, if you have a cart and maybe you want to share, the sharing part might be a different, so you might be tempted to put it inside the cart part, but maybe the sharing, you can share something else in the app. So maybe you can create a feature, something that will be focused in sharing. So you can share a product, you can share a card, you can share anything. So you might design it differently to make it separate and testable. So you had, and inside each features that I put domain here, you might have different layers. So you have to split the presentation, which is widgets, input, outputs, and pages in the app. Domain is more focused on what is the feature is doing. So I have products, I have users. So the main focus of the feature. And data is more the outside world, like a database, cloud, or anything. And then you have dependencies. So each layers, each domain will have dependencies between them. So you have to make sure to put to compose the layers with the right logic or the right component or needs. So just a big picture of what I'm going to show. So if I only put this, it's too confusing. So I'm going just to talk like very fast. So as I said, I just have multiple layers, so multiple features first, and then inside each features I have 3 separation. With each separation I have 3 separations. So widget page controller, so everything which is UI. Widgets, components, pages, I have one page that push another one, and then the controller that can be kind of the state management, so make sure everything is related and we have the access to the data everywhere. The domain will be, so the use case is one layer that is mainly focused on actions. So for example, when you press add to cart, you make sure that this press to cart will trigger everything needed to maybe, for example, save the cart online in the cloud, in the database. You have the entity to make sure that the structure is always the same. You want to share the same data everywhere. And repository will be more a representation of database, or depends on the purpose. So sometimes it can be a mirror of the data layer, or sometimes it can be only used, like, depends on the domain. So business logic and data, which would be the representation of database or cloud or anything, and the model would be something between the data and the business logic. So something to just make sure everything is understandable to pass it to the domain entity. Just a transitional model. So I'm going to explain you more about it with an example. So I made this beautiful app that does Euclidean division, responsive. And actually, if you write anything, it just refresh. I hope I will earn millions with this, but no, it doesn't go. But yeah. So I'm going to present each layer and all the precise aspect of the architecture in this code. So I have the card, which is a component, the page, which is a page, and the controller here. So I actually name it in a way that it's understandable, even in the file name. And with what you have to see is, for example, it's not mandatory, but for example, the widget, the card, we make sure that they are stateless. Depends on the purpose, but if you can make it stateless, that means that they don't have inner logic. They can have, for example, if you want to pass A and B, then it compute inside. Then you will have to test that the UI render the right logic. But usually don't try not to put logic inside. Just try to render based on the parameters, few things, and every time you change the parameters, the widget will render. It sounds maybe stupid, but pages might have scaffold. Scaffold is made for it. It's made to create a page, have everything you need to handle a page. It can happen that, for example, you have a button navigation. You can have multiple pages, then you don't need scaffold every time, but it's just try to have a scaffold. And for example, if you trigger a snack bar, for example, you make sure that it will render in this page and not somewhere else that you didn't expect. Or maybe if you have multiple nested scaffold, then you don't know where the snack bar is coming from. It's going to go. So I talked about injection earlier. So each layer will have injection. Like for example, the controller will be the first one who has it. And actually, I'm using a library getIt. From the type, I can like just inject it, and then it will also fill up everything needed inside. So each layer, for example, the controller will only use the use case part. So you shouldn't have any other layers inside, only the next layer. So for example, the math will have the Euclidean division use case. So this use case will only do Euclidean division. So this will take the dividend and the divisor. And okay, we cannot see here, but no. Okay. So this use case will return the entity, which is the structure of the result. And then I just take from the result, I take reminder and the quotient. And if you notice, this way of writing is I'm using FP-Dart, so it's functional programming, but I'm only using it to make sure that I don't have any try-catch, or I don't I'm executing a code and I make sure I have control my output as error. For example, if I have an error here, I know exactly what is it here, but I will show it now. So in the domain layer, there's few things to see. So okay. Just to talk about functional programming again, for example here, there's something task giver. So if something break, it can be anything. I make sure that this exception will be a division error unknown. So it's, for example, if the database the database is off, then any error will go to unknown. But if I know exactly what is it, I just create so it's an enum. I will make sure that it's explicit. It's just a way to do. It's not there's no official way to do it. It's just enum are there, so it's not a string, so you can just specify everything. So in Dart, you can do interface. So I just make sure that every layer have interface except the controller one. And I just, for every layer, I only use interface to just show what the layer can do, but not the implementation. So then if I test it, I can just mock it or just create something different. Oh yeah, I circle equitable, but it's more for the UI part, but also make sure that everything is comparable, can be equal. So if you know block is based on references. So you make sure that every time your entity has different references, it will update the UI. So equitable is just replacing the equality part and just make sure that reminder and caution is the same and not the reference of the object. And then what we do also is every use case have a call function. So call function in Dart allow you to do things like that. So it's actually an interface, but I can call the interface without calling call because behind the scene, every function has call. So if you have call, you can call your function like that. It's like a call, it's not, I don't know, it's just how it works. And for example, if you have a function which is null, you can put integration point and then call to make sure you're calling something which is not null. And also use case is the part where you have the business logic. So if you check if you see the repository, you only have subtract and add. And this layer, your use case is only business logic. So if you have business logic issues, it's only in this section. And to finish the data layer, so it was hard to represent this case in the data layer. It's just that the repository will implement the data source. For example, data source can be a cloud, an API, anything. This one is just doing A plus B or A minus B. And the model is, in this case, is useless, but it's just wrapping the result inside. I just wanted to, I'm going to show you after, just the conversion between model and entity. No, that's it for this part. So the folder structure, so you have your lib folder, and the command can be injection, dependency injection, it can be the routing, colors, utils, extensions, and every features will be listed here. So it's easier to find what you're looking for, the card, purchase, checkout, or sign-in authentication. And every features will have this. So maybe you can just create a CLI to generate this thing, or just create a template on the side, and then copy-paste every time for each features, and implement every layer like this again and again. Can be long, but useful. So some packaging tools to do it. So I'm using for the UI part, we only use block. So they all goes together, block, Flutter block, and equitable to render, to update the state, testing the equality. We use getIt, injectable read generator to create the injection, create all the link between all the injection part. And just for gap is a good, it's very small. It's a very small package. It just creates gaps, but it's so useful. Sometimes it's so fast. It's nothing, but it's very good. And fp.dart is just for the use case layer. That's it. And also FVM, if you don't know, it's just Flutter version manager. So if you have many projects, as we have, like in my company, we work with more than 5 projects at a time, and sometimes we go back to one, it's old version, then we can switch to another one when you have to switch to a version of Flutter every time. Okay. Something we don't talk a lot, it's linter. Linter is very, very, very important when it comes to best practice and also Flutter optimization. For example, one which is very is simple is this one, prefer constructor. So it will make sure that at the compile time everything is already prepared for the runtime. Relative import is not really mandatory, but sometimes we ask ourselves, is it better relative or not? Just make sure everyone is on the same page and that's it. You have final, local, single quote. We see this in JavaScript, so we can have the same thing. Just make sure everyone use a single quote. So basically, it's also for having the same code. Every time you refresh, you don't have a commit, which is only restructuring the code and not doing something different. Also, this small thing is very useful. Every time you save, it will do fixing, import, organizing, import, everything. So sometimes one of my colleagues doesn't have this, and every time I save, it just reorganizes everything. It's like, everyone should have this, or maybe not. It depends the preferences. So it can fix this just by saving. Sometimes it's useful. Some tools on the VS Code. I use .barrel to generate inner folder, like a file that export everything in the folder. I will show after. And why is it useful? So sometimes you don't want to import widget card, widget. No. You just import the full feature, and then you will have a list of features on top of the import. Sometimes you don't want everything inside, but it's useful. Error lens to see the error, dot error inside the code. If you don't know, it's good. Indent rainbow, so it colors here the rainbow. So you have the indentation with colors. Runner, it's like a watch, but instead of typing it, it's just run on VS Code. Event block, it gives you the shortcuts. Event Codium, I mean, I think any language, anything, it's useful. It's free. So, demo. So just to show this case, no, actually, yesterday I worked hard on something, so I'm going to show what I did yesterday. So I took your app, and I just changed some few things. I couldn't run it. So what I did, I just took the scaffold, just took the emergency contact and put it at the first page. It was easier. So what I did here is, for example, every time you change something, this save is on. So if I go back to this one, it will be off. So if you save, it's saved. Well, it doesn't go back to black. Shit. Okay. But actually, if you restart the app, it's saved in shared preferences. So just to show the code. So this is what I did. Sorry. So everything in this page is only one file. So I was like, okay, so maybe we can try to, it's a good exercise, this one, and just try to split everything. So the logic, the UI, etc., etc., etc. So just to, going to up. So you have here just text editing, you have controller disposing, I remove all the first stop part. Save inside the phone data, the page, just few inputs, and then the switch, which is around here. Oh, here. Everything is here. So what I did, you're going to see what is the difference between this and the architecture. So you have all the widgets. I just isolate, for example, the switch. So the switch, for example, is only label, switch, always the same thing. So just isolate it. The page So what I did is I create a controller for fetching, and another one for I don't remember where is it. Flutter, no. Oh yeah, here. So another one for the form. So make sure that every time I open, it initializes somewhere, and then if I change, it compare the initial value with the previous value. And then I just copy paste the UI. The UI is quite simple, so I just put everything in the same file. And then the controller. So I have two controllers, one for the fetching, one for the form. The form is very simple, just initial and current, and then if everything is okay, I push the button. I have a fetch and a save. But basically, in this case, when it goes to saving and fetching data, it's always the same thing. It's very linear. So if I go to the domain, I will have use case, fetch, and save, which call save and fetch again in the repository, again and again. So just to make sure that all the data here is saved always the same way, I have an entity, emergency settings, that regroups everything. And then I make sure that they are not like strings alone and trying to pass it in parameters. Again, so emergency repository, just implementing the data source to the repository, and I just have a conversion. So okay, everything this one is just a pass-through. It doesn't do anything special. But for example, if you want to store date time in a database, you put millisecond. So you will have this layer of conversion all the time, which is this part usually, the converter. Nothing special to show in the model, just a representation on the database side. And then the data source just storing inside the shared preferences in the phone. So that's it. It was very quick. So if you have any questions. Yeah, okay, go.
Could you please return in your repository?
Okay, here.
The implementation.
Okay.
Okay, how do you mock the data source?
Here?
If you want to, yes.
Okay. So, for example, if you wanna, I just put like here. So if I have, for example, so if I want to test something on this, so we'll go like this. So I will take this thing, this interface, and then I actually just try to create. No. Okay. Okay, let me think. So I just create a class to mock this thing. I don't know, mock, and then I just implement this thing. So this will make sure that I have this. So the two methods I want to implement. So this thing can be, I can return immediately something like this. So it will just return what I want, or it can be maybe just an exception. So what if my emergency repository, what does my repository do when it has an exception, for example? What is this? So what I want is maybe a void. No. So this, it's so cool. He created the test for me. So actually, it's just creating an instance, and then I just use the mock one, and then it just call. Then I can try this and this, and then in the test, so test unit, I just expect this.
Okay, right. Thanks.
Yeah, oh, so cool. Gain so much time.
So can you move up that file?
Wait, which one?
This file? Yeah, move up. Okay. This emergency repository.
Yeah.
When I read this, in my mind, it does nothing.
Okay.
It just a pass through to the from the layer below to the layer above.
Exactly.
Don't you think it's like a lot of boilerplate for implementing a feature?
Yeah, sometimes it's a lot, but if you only use for this case, for sure it's a lot. But I mean, if you have more, one of the common use case would be caching and stuff. So everything here will decide, oh, I want to go to the database or maybe the in-memory thing. But if it's only a pass-through, it's a lot of code, always the same thing. But usually we have, for example, we created an interface for CRUD, so read, fetch, and stuff. So we only give, for example, a type here, so maybe the entity, and then we make sure that it always has fetch, read, fetch, write, delete, and stuff. So we have a way to simplify this, all of this.
You mean having a generic repository for different types?
Yeah.
So less boilerplate in general?
Yeah, that's more.
Okay.
Oh.
Sorry, just a small question. I just wanted to know, what extension do you use to, like, it says expected in, like, in red? You see, like, on the top there?
Here?
Yeah, how do you,
It's this one, error lens.
error line?
Yeah, it gives you, so you just grab the error and put it at the good line,
Okay.
the right line. Good slide.
Thank you. Yeah.
And code generation, error, everything is here.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, we have a lot of time, so if anyone have more questions? No? 3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
Thank you, Billy.
Also, this thing, if you want to see how it's made, it's on GitHub. It's Flutter clean stuff. So I just put it like this. It's on GitHub.